So wonderful to see the room grow out and having you all here today. I'd like to all, ask you to join me in prayer. So let's please bow our head and praise God. Dear Heavenly Parent, Heavenly Mother, and Heavenly Father, thank you all for being here today. We're so grateful that we can be here and worship and pray as a community. I hope that we can open our hearts and open our minds so we can grow. We can learn something today. We can be refreshed as we enter into our busy week. You know, each of us, we walk into this room, maybe having a hard week, or maybe making some mistakes, or maybe wish that we had been a different type of person. But I ask that we can really leave all of our baggage at the door and come to you as a pure child of love for you, trying to reconnect to you, reconnect to this incredible community, and reconnect to your heart today. We all have something on our minds. We all have somebody maybe that we're worrying about or thinking about or wishing that we had a better relationship with. And I hope that we can really offer that all up to you today so that you can really be part of every part of our lives and that you can really work in our lives and we can make a special place for you in our hearts and our minds. I ask that you can be with everybody who's not at church today because, we all play a role in connecting each and every person in our community. And we know that you love all of us so much and that we all need to really, work to reach out and create the community that we want to build. And we have such great, incredible examples who are sitting in this room today, and may that give us inspiration and will and a lot of resilience as we want to close out this year strong and centered on you. We have such an upcoming and exciting sermon today, and we hope that we can really let that come to our hearts and come to our minds as we try to connect with you today. So I ask that you can be here, that you can join us today, that you can be in this room, and I want to offer this prayer not only in my name, but in every single person's name in this room. Clara and Mitsu Smith, blessed central couple, Amen and Aju. Thank you, everybody. I want to take a special moment right now and see if there's any guests that have joined us today. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, we want to make sure that you feel welcomed and that we have a special gift for you in the back too. But I think we have a hand raised, so I'm going to pass the mic. And anyone else who would like to introduce themselves, please feel free to stand up as well. Oh, he has a mic. Oh, he's already prepared. He's ready to go.
Hi, I'm Youngil. I haven't been here in like a week, so nice to see you. And this is my brother-in-law, Namfan. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Namfan Vanestok. I'm looking into moving to Denver area. I started a job last Tuesday, and I'm going to check out if this is something that we want to pursue. And I hope my family can join me maybe after Christmas or maybe in May, but then we'll be here. Yeah.
Let's all give him a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming today, and we're so excited you're considering Denver. Anyone else who would like to introduce yourself, please feel free to raise your hand. Oh, we have a couple people over here. I think we're in the back there. Pastor Mike has the mic. Please feel free to stand up.
And today I brought my brother with me, Brother Mark.
Hey, Brother Mark. Thank you for coming. All right. Well, if anybody's too shy, I want to let you know that we have lunch downstairs after our service, so please feel free to join us and fellowship afterwards as well. All right. Well, now it's time to just take a couple minutes and reconnect to the people around you. So let's, hug and give handshakes to people around us and bring the love back in the room. And just take a couple minutes to reconnect everybody in fellowship. Wonderful. Thank you all for, it's creating such beautiful love in the room. Who feels better after that? Raise your hand. I feel so much better after that, right? I got to meet 2 new people today, and I hope that, you can also meet 1 or 2 new people you haven't seen in a while before the end of service. That would be fantastic. I'd like to now transition to our sermon today, and to prepare our hearts and minds, we have our upcoming video worship song so that we can all do that together. But I wanted to provide a little bit of context around what we're going to be listening to after the video today. So Pastor Adoni is going to be speaking today. She's going to be speaking about growth. Now, when you think of the word growth, Some people might feel, a little uncomfortable, or maybe I'm comfortable where I'm at. And some people struggle through growth. There's a lot of connotations around growth, and she's going to be speaking about the potential of growth and how we can tap into that and how it's a privilege to grow centered on God. So that's a little sneak peek about our sermon. And without further ado, we're going to have our video. So I ask that you can all, really take a moment to worship and prepare your hearts and minds to accept the sermon.
Good morning, everyone. How are all of you today? Have you enjoyed the gorgeous October weather? I love October. When we moved here 3 years ago, it was October 1st. And so our first month in Colorado was October, and it was so inspiring to me. I loved the crisp, cool mornings and the warm sunshine in the daytime and the fall colors, and I just totally fell in love with Colorado during October. I don't know if you remember that 3 years ago, the 1st of November, it dropped to like 10 below zero. And it was a big shock. But October was gorgeous. So I hope you're enjoying God's beautiful creation and able to feel God's love through that as well. My topic, so as you know, we're doing a sermon series now, and we're starting off by talking about the different aspects of the first blessing of growing our individual self, becoming a mature person. And my topic to talk about today is about growth. And I've had a really hard time coming up with what I was going to talk about this week, which is surprising for me because this is usually one of my favorite topics to talk about. If I'm ever in a space where I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week, what should I, talk about? Then I kind of go back to, well, what things do I really feel like I really just believe in totally, or what really inspires me, or what do I feel like I really get about the principle? And typically, growth is one of those topics. But I came up short for a lot of this week. And that was very insightful for me because I have come to realize that if there's a time when I have a hard time coming up with something to say, especially with something I like to talk about, it's usually something that I need to work on. It's usually something that I'm avoiding facing, or that I don't actually want to look at closely in myself, so I don't really want to dig deep into it. Actually, the last few months, actually throughout the summer and leading up to the fall, I feel like as a community, but especially for Mike and I and myself, it's actually been a time of a lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of stepping out of our old ways of doing things and thinking and habits, and realizing that God is calling us into more than what we even imagined for ourselves. I really saw that picture open up in front of me starting, it was like May or June this year. And I felt stretched a lot, but it was also very exciting. And I felt like a lot of it not culminated, but we completed a first step of that with completing our first 3 years here, having the Busings here and everything. I felt like that was a big time of growth, but perhaps you've had the experience of when you make a big step or you accomplish something great, that then you maybe want to take a little breather or step back for a little bit. Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about when my sister and I did our race, for 6 months leading up to it, we were running, we were doing yoga, we were working out every day, and we were doing so many push-ups, and if we had spare time, we'd be doing, what are those things, like the backward, push-up things, and we were working out. We were just like pushing ourselves to grow, not so much spiritually, but mentally and our muscles. We were really training them to grow, all leading up to this big race. And then we did the race, and then we were really sore, and it was we gave everything to finish it. And then, like, I never worked out again. That's not entirely true, but it's pretty true. So maybe you have something in your life where you can kind of relate to, where you really worked at something and you pushed yourself and you really strove hard and then you did it. But then you just kind of want to coast a little bit. You want to take a step back. You don't want to have to keep pushing through and keep going and going. So I kind of feel like that's maybe a little bit where I've been. Maybe, I think for some people, they have a similar experience in going to the blessing, where you really prepare yourself to meet your future spouse. Even before you ever meet your fiance or your match, you try to think, how can I be the best person? I'm not looking for the right person. I want to be the right person. And you might do prayer conditions, or you might even do fasting conditions. And you're really looking at yourself and thinking, what parts of my character do I need to improve? Or how can I be a person who gives more? And you always put your best face forward when you meet that person. I think a lot of people really are thinking about their life and their future. But sometimes, after we get blessed, then we just kind of want to coast a little bit. We just want to enjoy being married. We just want to enjoy the honeymoon phase, and we just want to enjoy being blessed. It's definitely not a bad thing, and I think that we all do that at times. But we can't coast forever, right? There always comes a time where we got to pick back up again, and we've got to keep working, because I'm sure you've heard a similar phrase where if you're not paddling upstream, you're getting swept downstream, right? There's not really a middle ground in our life where we can just stay as we are. We're either making progress and moving forward, or the culture, daily life, our habits are sweeping us backwards. So thinking about how I need to give a message on growth this week really kind of helped me to realize that this is a little bit where I'm at right now. I've been floating a bit. So this week, my topic is the process of growth. You might remember last week that Mike was talking about removing the obstacles to our growth. Essentially, acknowledging, confronting, and removing our fallen natures. This is obviously a huge part to growth. But if we look at the principle and we look at how God created humanity, Adam and Eve, even before the fall, God created human beings so that they would have to grow to perfection, to grow to be one in heart with Him. Even without having committed mistakes, even without having fallen away from God, God still required of us that we grow. And even after they would have received the blessing, God still would have asked us to grow through the completion stage, right? So growth is never-ending, ever-present aspect to our life. But it takes time and it takes a process. So I'm going to share a little bit straight from the divine principle that outlined it to begin with. The universe did not suddenly spring forth complete without regard to the flow of time. In fact, its origin and development took an enormous length of time. Therefore, the biblical period of 6 days, for the completion of the universe is not to be reckoned by the number of literal sunrises and sunsets. It symbolizes 6 ordered periods of time in the creation process. When the first day of creation was completed, it states, "There was evening and there was morning, one day." One would think that the arrival of the morning after the passage of an evening and a night would be reckoned as the second day. Yet it is referred to as the first day. The Bible states one day to show that a created being must pass through a growing period, symbolized by the night, before it reaches perfection in the morning. All things are designed to reach completion only after passing through a set growing period. So what does growth look like in our daily lives? How do we actually grow? Dealing with fallen natures, yes. Mike already talks about that. But we have to proactively move forward as well. I think that this verse talking about passing through the night and then coming to the morning as being a completion of one day, or showing that we need to pass through a growing period. We need to pass through the night before we can stand at the beginning of a new day, is actually really, it's actually very deep. If you think about an actual nighttime, when the sun sets at night and it gets completely dark, does it like slowly get darker until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then slowly get lighter until 9 o'clock in the morning? It doesn't, right? Once the sun sets and it's completely dark, it stays completely dark until the next morning when the sun starts to rise. And if you don't like darkness, that can be a scary thing. And if you don't know what time it is, and if you don't know that the morning is coming, it can seem indefinite. It can seem like the end is never coming. So growth can kind of feel like that sometimes. Growth can kind of feel like sometimes I'm in the dark. I don't know when the fruit of my efforts are coming. I don't know when the sun is going to rise. Sometimes we can't see the path in front of us when we're in the growing period. We can't see how if we take a step forward and a step forward and a step forward, it's actually going to get us to the end of the tunnel, or it's going to get us to the morning. When we're growing, it's not usually the most Instagram-worthy parts of our life, right? We don't want to show how, I should love this person, but I actually am really struggling with them right now. I know I really need to be working on my schoolwork, but I actually am really just sucked into Facebook right now. I'm going to talk about that on Facebook and show everybody how awesome that is. It usually means, when we're growing, it usually means that we're acknowledging and confronting our fallen natures. If we're actually growing, we're acknowledging and confronting our fallen natures. And it can also mean that we are taking the steps to unite our minds to our bodies, which is not very comfortable a lot of the times. If we're enjoying our creature comforts too much, if we're giving into our fallen natures, then our bodies are, I wrote something funny here. Our bodies enjoy are not the focus. The things that our bodies enjoy. I wrote something funny. Okay. But these are the things we don't like to think about in our life. I'll talk about that later. But, when we know that we have something that we should be doing and we're not doing it, and then we start to have to confront that and change it. If we're in a relationship that we want to be better, but it's not where we want it to be yet, and we're working on that, these are the times that can feel like we're in the darkness sometimes. They're not the parts of our lives that we all want to show off to the world. This is what the growth stage feels like. I know in the principle, it looks like Adam and Eve are starting here, and they just go up on this nice little slope, up through the formation stage, up through the growth stage, and it's all this nice even line, all the way up to completion and God. That's a very averaged out line. Because in actuality, it's down like this, and sometimes we feel like we're below the formation stage, but then we do something, we get a victory and we feel like we're way up high and we feel like we should already be united with God, but then the next thing happens and then we're down again. So maybe you can relate with some of that. This is another quote from the Divine Principle. All things reach perfection after passing through the growing period by virtue of the autonomy and governance given by God's principle. Human beings, however, are created in such a way that their growth requires the fulfillment of their own portion of responsibility provided by the principle. So, a lot of times when you start talking about portion of responsibility, people start getting shifty in their seats. Sometimes people start to get sleepy. We start to get heavy. We don't like to think about this so much. I think we've kind of created a negative connotation about the idea of our responsibilities and what we have to do to grow ourselves. Maybe you've had the experience of feeling judged by somebody because they didn't think that you fulfilled your responsibility. Or you may have been on the other side of it, where sometimes you were judging somebody because you feel like they weren't fulfilling their responsibility. I think everybody has some experiences that relate one way or another with that type of feeling. So I want you guys to leave that behind. Let go of that idea of responsibility and growth and open up to the idea that maybe God has a different perspective on this. So why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about portion of responsibility? Sometimes I feel like, kind of along with these ideas that we want to leave behind, sometimes we feel like, well, I should do it. I should fulfill my responsibility. To be a good person and a good member, I need to fulfill my responsibility in front of God and true parents and Jesus and God and the world. And we start to put all this stuff on us. Or sometimes we feel like, I need to grow, I need to fulfill my responsibility so I don't go to hell. So we don't float back down the river, right? I got to keep paddling at least so I can stay in the same place and not get swept backwards. I think this is really a human point of view on something that's really beautiful and given by God. So I want to show you a little bit of God's perspective on growth and our portion of responsibility. God endowed human beings with a portion of responsibility for the following reason. By fulfilling their given portion of responsibility, with which even God does not interfere, human beings are meant to inherit the creative nature of God and participate in God's great work of creation. God intends human beings to earn ownership and become worthy to rule over the creation as creators in their own right, just as God governs over them as their creator. I think we've read this before, but have we really thought about it? Do we see ourselves that way? I'm going to read it one more time. God endowed human beings. What does endow mean? Like a gift, like a blessing, something really special that you get. It's not like, take this, you have to do this, right? God endowed human beings with a portion of responsibility for the following reason. By fulfilling their given portion of responsibility with which even God does not interfere, human beings are meant to inherit the creative nature of God and participate in God's great work of creation. God intends human beings to earn ownership and become worthy to rule over the creation as creators in their own right, just as God governs over them as their creator. So how does that make you feel? I think you could maybe still feel like this is heavier, or like, oh, a big responsibility. But I think that if we let go of our own concepts and our past experiences, then we can see this as something empowering for us that God has given us. So as I mentioned before, when we're in the night, we don't see the light coming until, 6 o'clock in the morning, until the very end. So we can't just be stuck where we're at looking right in front of us when we're in the growth stage. We need to have a larger perspective on who we are, why we're here, where we're going. And if we know that, then we can keep going. We can keep walking through the night until the morning. So I feel like that this gives us a bigger perspective on our lives and what we're doing. And sometimes a bigger perspective on the struggles that we might be going through, the times when we feel like that we're not being the person we need to be, or we're not accomplishing the things we need to accomplish. If we don't have that, it can be really discouraging, and it's actually really easy to just avoid the growth. Because what's it going to do for me anyway? Is it worth it to try to overcome my fallen natures? Because I've tried that before, and it's really hard. To overcome our bodies, the creature comforts that we don't want to let go of, to do the growth, because it isn't fun and it isn't glamorous. We can usually think of 1,000 other things that we would rather do. I was actually looking at my kids this morning, and I had a dream last night that my boys were like 4 years old again, and they had these chubby little cheeks, and they make these cute little pouty faces that they used to make when they were 4, and it really warmed my heart. And then they woke up this morning and came up the stairs, and I thought, wow, they're so big. When did you get so big? And they're all like, their cheeks are gone, and they're all bony and scrawny, and I've just been thinking, like, how much they've been growing. But of course what's obvious is their physical growth, but then I started to think, how much have they grown in the last 4 years, also mentally and intellectually and in their hearts. It's really awesome to see my boys learning to read and asking so many questions about the things that they're reading, and I can see that they're really absorbing and learning and growing. And I was thinking about how kids, when you're growing up, actually you're put in a lot of situations where you need to grow, and you grow very quickly through school and your family relationships. You've got your parents and your siblings. You can't escape from them, so you've got to find a way to work with it, to grow your heart, to be with them. In school, you've got your schoolwork, you've got your projects that are due, so you've got to overcome your laziness, or you've got to overcome, maybe you've got a hard time reading, but you've got to overcome that so you can accomplish your projects. I feel like that there's a lot of structures as a child that allow for our growth and kind of push us to grow. When we're adults, we have a lot more freedom, don't we? Which is great. I think God means for us to utilize that freedom in wonderful ways. But I think sometimes we can use that freedom to avoid the continuation of our growth. If we don't like somebody, I don't have to be in class with that person. If I'm working with somebody I don't like, I could technically even change my job. If I don't have to deal with a certain situation, I can just ignore it. I think unless we are determined to grow, unless we are consciously making the effort, as adults, we can very easily continue through our life without actually maturing ourselves anymore. We have to choose to grow. And so why would we choose to go through difficulty and challenge? We would have to feel that it would be worth it. I think we have to really believe in our hearts that it's worth it to go through the challenge, or else why bother? So I'm going to a little bit reiterate this past quote with one of Father's quotes. Human beings should fulfill our portion of responsibility during the time we are growing to maturity. This means we have to add our 5% to the 95% that represents what God has already created. In this way, we fulfill the condition of having cooperated in God's work of creation and can share the authority of the Creator. If God had done everything for us as his beloved object partners, we would be no more than puppets, lacking any authority of our own. God gave us our portion of responsibility as a privilege in order to bestow upon us the right to become his object partners. It is a privilege with which even God cannot interfere. God gave us our portion of responsibility so that we could set the condition of participating in our own creation. So just I feel like a small example of, I meant to put this in before the last quote, but talking about, why do we choose to go through difficulty? Why would we choose to face our fallen natures when we could avoid them? Well, part of it is this vision that God gives us, that True Father has illuminated for us, of being able to fulfill our portion of responsibility, become a co-creator, become the object of God, we can receive the fullness of God's love. But just a small example of my own personal life. Some of you remember from last week, Mike was talking about fallen natures, and he outlined a couple of his that he felt were something that he needs to work on more. And he brought up this little mention of how he sometimes judges or has a condescending attitude toward me when I sleep late. Anybody remember that? But this has actually been a big thing for me, because early on this year, I realized that if I want to do the things that I feel like I really need to do, I keep telling myself, I'll do this next month, or I'll have time later, I'll have time when the kids are in school, but that time never comes. That time never comes for me to have the peace to be able to read Father's words during the day. The time never comes for me to, meditate and think about what are my goals in life. The time never comes for me to take care of the little things that are important to me, but that aren't so urgent to me. Because things that are urgent always take precedence over things that might even be important. So I realized early, when we did our New Year's resolutions and everything, okay, if I actually want to do these things that I feel are important for my life, the only way I'm ever going to be able to do this is if I wake up early. And I've never liked waking up early. And I don't like it when my kids wake me up early. So I don't have a habit of waking up early in my life. I've been quite a late sleeper, but I realized I need to do this if I'm going to move forward, if I'm going to do the things I want to do in my life. This year has been a process for me of trying to break my old habits of sleeping late and creating a new habit of being excited to wake up in the morning, greet God, start out in control of my day, being proactive in my day, rather than waking up and feeling like I'm trying to catch up all day long. Hate that feeling. And I realized that this is a part of growth for me. I'm sure that there's some fallen nature in there too that is being worked out, but also it's just that basic mind and body unity stuff, where my mind knows what it wants to do. I can go to bed the night before and be like, okay, I can't wait to get up in the morning and read God's words and have that time for prayer, and it's going to be great. And then I wake up in the morning, and Annalise is sprawled out on top of me. My alarm goes off, and I think, oh man, if I get up, then I'm going to wake up Annalise, and then I've got to, what's the point of getting up early if I've got an awake baby I've got to take care of? And so then I'm just like, whatever, I'll go to sleep. That's happened a lot of times. So for me, it's really just been this being able to know what I want, not just tell myself the night before, okay, I need to do this and I need to do this, and that's why I'm going to get up in the morning, but to have this vision that I had when I first made my determination at the beginning of the year, right? Not waking up early for the sake of waking up early. Not reading God's words in the morning because that's what I should be doing as a pastor. But because I have a goal for my life. I have a vision for where I want to be in my family. I have a vision for where our community can be. And my little portion of responsibility adds into that. And when I think about this bigger, the whole picture of it, then I can get up early in the morning. What is it for you? What is it that you feel like, if you could do this one thing, it may not be everything that you need to accomplish in your life, but if you could do this one thing, it might actually make a big difference for you. It's probably something that you've had a hard time with your whole life. And there's two ways to approach it. I found, like for myself, I need to have the bigger vision of why it's important, why I need to grow, and that motivates me. But we also need to have the practical steps to apply to help us to do it. Like I realized that actually Annalise can't be sleeping on me if I want to wake up in the morning. So this week we've finally moved her over to Mia's room, and she's been sleeping not on me. And it's actually made a big difference in how able I am to get up in the morning. So we need to work on both. What is it for you? Do you need to have an accountability partner? There's the practical side of it. And then keep reminding yourself of the big picture. What is something practical? One thing you can do towards taking the step that you want to take. And then also remembering, what is God's calling for us? What is empowering about what I want to do? Not, why do I have to do this? So just, this is what I meant to share this quote afterwards, but I'll read it again too. Human beings should fulfill our portion of responsibility during the time we are growing to maturity. This means we have to add our 5% to the 95% that represents what God has already created. And it doesn't mention it in this quote, but in the principle, it does mention that our 5% is also 100% of our effort. It's not trying here and there, but we really have to invest ourselves. In this way, we fulfill the condition of having cooperated in God's work of creation and can share the authority of the Creator. If God had done everything for us as his beloved object partners, we would be no more than puppets, lacking any authority of our own. God gave us our portion of responsibility as a privilege in order to bestow upon us the right to become his object partners. It is a privilege with which even God cannot interfere. God gave us our portion of responsibility so that we could set the condition of participating in our own creation. So when you know where you're going, and you have the overall vision of what you're doing and why you're doing it, then this growth stage, this process of growth is actually really exciting. It's really precious and it's really valuable. And it doesn't mean that what you have to do will change. You might still have to have these difficult conversations with somebody in your life. You might still have to rub the sleep out of your eyes in the morning and when you wake up. But with a simple perspective change on it, then this growth can become exciting, it can become precious, and it can become valuable. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful week. I'm remembering I need to pray. So please join me in prayer, everyone. Good morning, most beloved Heavenly Parent. We love you. Thank you so much for coming to be with us as we have gathered here to be with you. Heavenly Parent, you're sitting next to each one of us. You're sitting with us. You're inside our hearts, and you know our hearts. I pray that as we think about growth and responsibility, that we'll leave judgment out of it. We don't need to judge ourselves, and we don't need to judge others. You know our hearts. You know exactly who we are and why we are the way we are, why we've made mistakes we've made, and your love and your grace is there for us. When we feel pain because of a mistake we've made, you also feel our pain. When we feel joy, when we feel the joy and freedom of accomplishment, you also feel that joy and freedom of our accomplishments. So I pray that we can not be worried about what other people think about us, what we feel like we should be doing, but instead that we can just look to you. And from our relationship with you, we can know what we need to do. We can recognize that you, with love, are calling us to be more than who we are now, to be greater than we are now. Not out of judgment, not so that we won't go to hell, but because you can't wait to be in a relationship of love with us. Because you can't wait to see what's waiting around the corner. You can't wait to see what might be created when the night ends and the sun rises. Please help us to feel that possibility for ourselves. Sometimes we get inspired, but sometimes we feel weighted. Sometimes we feel like it's too far away, but please be with us. Please give us the courage. Please help us to know that no one is too far gone. And that your intention for us to all be the creators of our own life, that possibility is there for each and every one of us. We love you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this chance to be together and come close to you. And I offer this prayer in my name, Michael Antonia Hentrick, Los Central family, adieu.
Such a beautiful message. Thank you, Adonia. How did you know that I'm bad at waking up in the morning? How did you know? My husband was there like looking at me like, you should be paying attention right now. So I personally really resonated with your message. I love how you definitely like flipped the connotation of what it means to grow. And when you think about that we all have the ability to be a creator this week, we all have the ability to be more than ourselves if we enroll God, you know, there's no limit to that. So thank you for showing us that in a very non-judgmental and really humble and beautiful way. We're so lucky for Pastor Adonia, aren't we? Let's give her one more round of applause. So now we're going to have a short reflection time, and we're also going to have our two people in the back going to be walking up the aisle with the tithing basket if you feel like you'd like to give. So we're going to be playing some music, so please feel free to close your eyes and think about the message, think about what you heard, and if you'd like to give, the ushers will be walking down slowly, and then we'll have our last prayer, and then our program will close after that. So we have a couple of announcements. We're first going to start with our national announcements. We're going to play a short video, and then afterwards we're going to have some local announcements. We have one special local announcement, so I ask that all the kids could stay in the room, and then I'll dismiss you right after that one special local announcement.
Hi, this is Karen with your weekly update. Let's start with a short report from Korea.
On October 15th, True Mother delivered an historic speech to an audience of 10,000 as part of the Hyojeon Peace Loving Festival in Kanagawa, Japan. A year before, True Mother had told Japanese unificationists that when 10,000 people can gather for an event in one local area or prefecture, she would come personally and speak. Following an enthusiastic introduction from her daughter, FFWPU International President Sun Jin-moon, True Mother was warmly welcomed to the stage to give her message. She emphasized that everyone must become global citizens who live for the sake of the world and explained that the ideal of true parents is not just for Japan, but for the whole world. The festival was concluded with a resounding cheer for victory and peace, with True Mother already looking forward to the major peace and unity rallies to be held in November.
Hi, brothers and sisters, nationwide and worldwide. Thank you so much every week. Your support and your participation, our church movement centering on true parents. Today I am here East Garden and we are welcoming 30 Korean religious leaders. They came to America to understand how Father Mother Moon laid down foundation here America for the sake of world peace. And today they came to New Yorker and we had ACLC prayer breakfast meeting. When we went to Korea last month, these Korean religious leaders welcomed us, all 200 ACLC pastors. So we really want to work together, Korea and America, these religious leaders, for the sake of true parents' providence. They went UN for a luncheon meeting with the UN official centering on UPF, Dr. Walsh, and they have a wonderful gathering together with the ACLC pastors once again. And tonight, on behalf of True Parents, we invited them to East Garden and we share about the True Parents' great providence here, especially centering on Christian movement for the sake of God and for the sake of peace. Thank you and God bless you.
From October 6th through the 9th, the second Korean Divine Principle Seminar was held at the International Peace Education Center in Las Vegas. Participants were able to receive spiritual insight through the Divine Principle lectures led by Reverend Ki-Yao Lee of the Korean Evangelical Association, while experiencing the beauty of God's creation through multiple outings. Among the locations visited were Lake Mead, Red Rock Canyon, and the Grand Canyon. On Sunday morning, Bishop Kim made a special visit and explained the significance of True Parents' work in Las Vegas. Everyone was uplifted by the experience and testified that they would be urging relatives and members of their church communities to come and enjoy the Divine Principle experience at IPEC.
If you haven't been to IPEC yet, talk to somebody who has, and they'll tell you what an incredible experience it is. We have 7-day Divine Principle and weekend Divine Principle workshops. The next workshop is November 3rd to the 6th. Then there's a 7-day workshop, November 15th to the 21st. And in December, there's a 4-day workshop scheduled for the 8th to the 11th. Go to familyfed.org/DP retreats to sign up for a workshop today.
I would like to personally invite you to the upcoming Energize Blessed Couples Retreat. It's going to be held in the beautiful Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania from November 3rd through 5th. Think about it. How recently have just you and your spouse taken a whole weekend to just be together? Probably it's been a while, right? For those of you who are concerned about finances, the Blessing Family Ministry is offering some scholarships for families that have financial need. Take a look on the website for more information, to register, and to apply for the scholarships at blessedmarriageproject.org. And we look forward to having a wonderful retreat together with you and your spouse.
Let's join True Mother for the Global Rally for Peace and Unity at the World Cup Stadium in Seoul, Korea. On the successful foundation of the ACLC Religious Conference in Korea last month, where we brought 200 ministers, and the great success of Madison Square Garden, we're replicating this in Korea, where we will have Emmy Award winner A. Curtis Farrell, who will be directing the Global Choir, along with gospel artists and Grammy Award winner Hezekiah Walker. We will have the opportunity to hear True Mother speak her message of truth to thousands of people. Of course, we would love to have you come, and we would like you to invite your minister friends. For many of you, you haven't been to Korea in a long time. This will be an opportunity for you to come to Cheongpyeong and also go on a pilgrimage and see some of the historical sites of our movement. I look forward to you seeing there. I'm going, my wife is going, and many others are going.
Don't miss your chance to attend this historic Rally for Peace. To find out more and register, go to peacestartswithme.nyc/register.
That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. God bless, and see you next week.
So many exciting things going on nationally, right? Thank you for your support. Before I dismiss the kids to Sunday school, I'd like to show one special announcement that's happening next Sunday. The suspense must be killing you, right? We have a Halloween party! Woohoo! So the Halloween party is going to be here right after church service on Sunday, October 29th. There's going to be fun games and a costume contest, as well as prizes and a photo booth so you can take pictures with your friends and your family. And this will begin after lunch at church. So don't forget to bring your costumes. And on that note, I'd like to officially dismiss all the Sunday school kids. Bye, everybody. Let's all wave to them. Bye, everybody. Have a good Sunday school. All right, our next announcement, not as exciting, but still equally as important, is that we have our third quarter financial report. This is in the spirit of transparency and openness, so you all know what's going on with the finances. There's going to be a hard copy of the report available today, so I would talk to the pastors if you'd like a copy, and it's also going to be emailed out if you're curious around, where is your tithing going, what's being spent financially. Check out the third quarter financial report. We also have the Interreligious Celebration of Marriage and Family. This is being held by the local Women's Federation chapter, and it's going to be on Saturday, November 18th from 1 to 3 here in our local church. And Women's Fed, as well as other religions, will come and they'll share about their views on marriage and family. And anybody interested in partaking in the blessing, please talk to Shirley Chimes or Gail Alves, who are organizing this event. Our next event is that we have plenty of upcoming workshops at the IPEC Center. We saw Carlson Allen speak about that in our national video, but as you can see, there's a lot of different dates coming up in October, as well as in November, and in December as well. And if you have any interest, or if you're curious around, the logistics of getting there, we encourage you to talk to our local pastors as well if you're interested in attending. And there's 4-day as well as 7-day workshops to work with your schedule. We have an announcement that I'd like to invite Melissa to come up and share a little bit more about. So if Melissa could come up, she's going to share about our new initiative to welcome all of our guests. So let's welcome up Melissa. Keep it going. And Alice, yes, and Alice. And I know you have a couple of slides to share, so please feel free. Thank you so much. Yeah, just that one, yeah. Okay.
Hi, morning, everybody. So it's been a long time in coming. I know Mike and Adonia have just wanted to have something to welcome everybody when they come to church, not just for, members that have been with us for a long time, but especially for new people that are coming. It's just to provide that initial point of contact, and just really making people feel welcome to the church when they come, and just to provide them with some resources, to follow up and hopefully come again, right? So in the bags, so they can definitely go and check out our website and learn more about, what we do here, what we're about, True Parents, Divine Principle, everything like that. And then again, to get them to come back, they can come have a drink in the cafe, and, if they feel comfortable, just speaking to somebody, it kind of gives them that environment to just come, talk more about Divine Principle, and just hopefully get them to come back again. And then in it we have a letter from Mike and Adonia, and then we have a bookmark. Oh, you can't really see it. Well, this is the bookmark. Yes. And it's, thank you. It just says, where should we be headed as we walk along life's path? To possess and own the true love of God is life's highest and final goal. And then a magnet. So it says, and this is, yay. Which Mike did the background on that, which I love. Mike did the background on it. Well, you, well, no. Put together, yes. It just says, if you desire love, the secret of gaining it is to pour out yourself, your life, your love, and your everything. So even if they don't come back, I mean, it'll just have those little reminders strategically placed everywhere to get them to come back. And, well, we don't have candy in it yet, but that's coming. Oh. Yeah, and so it's just kind of part of the overall welcoming committee that Alice is putting together. Here to just kind of speak to that.
So I'd like to speak just a little bit about our Welcome Providence, our Welcome Ministry. This is a broader one than just me greeting you when you come in the door and shaking your hand and also when you leave, but really it's to create a spirit of assimilation or welcome for all those already in our movement, because you're valuable and we appreciate you so much. But also any of those who you welcome or that you invite to come to our service, or any other way that we meet with our community. So we want the doors to be open, we want our hearts to be welcoming, and we want our minds to be concerned about the situation of all those who interact and interface with our Providence. So thank you.
Thank you, Alice and Melissa, for coming up and being so intentional about welcoming our new guests. I think this is a really special feature of our church, and we're so lucky that they're dedicated to that. Aren't we? Aren't we so thrilled that they're doing that? Yeah. Thank you again. One more round of applause for their efforts every single week to make our guests and our members as well feel very special. And our last announcement today is that next Sunday is going to be a potluck. So if you'd like to join, please bring a dish so that you can also partake. And then right after this lunch is going to be our Halloween party. So that's going to be next Sunday. And if you're interested in giving back, please talk to the pastors. We need a couple of volunteers to make that possible. So that's it with our announcements. Thank you for paying attention and being engaged in all of that.